In the Bible lies one of the most brilliant financial advisors in history, Joseph of Egypt. His story isn't just a tale of survival. It's a masterclass in saving and thriving, guided by divine wisdom. What if I told you that the secrets to breaking free from financial struggle have been sitting in plain sight for thousands of years? That saving didn't start with banks or Wall Street. It started in the Bible, and Joseph's story holds the blueprint. This isn't about luck or chance. It's about obedience, vision, and a strategy so powerful it saved an entire nation from starvation. Joseph went from the darkness of a prison cell to the splendor of a palace, not because of wealth, but because he followed a plan rooted in God's wisdom. In this video, I'm going to reveal 10 biblical saving principles straight from Joseph's life. These principles are not just ancient, they're timeless, and they could be the key to transforming your finances. But here's the catch. The final principle might be the one thing standing between you and freedom from scarcity. Stay with me until the end, because missing it could cost you more than you realize. 1. The visionary saver, planning beyond the present. While the people of Egypt reveled in the prosperity of the good years, feasting, spending, and celebrating, Joseph was looking far ahead. He wasn't swept up in the moment because he understood a chilling truth. Good times don't last forever. His saving wasn't born out of fear, but out of divine revelation. He saw what others couldn't, and that vision became his guide. When God grants vision, it's not to scare you, but to prepare you. The wise don't save because they're afraid of losing. They save because they know abundance without purpose is fleeting. Genesis 41:47-48 reveals Joseph's strategy. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years and stored it in the cities. He didn't wait for the famine to strike. He acted before the need arose. This is the first principle of biblical saving. Plan before the storm hit. God doesn't bless those who live recklessly, reacting to every whim of the present. He blesses those who live with direction, guided by his eternal wisdom. Saving isn't about hoarding, it's about obedience to a higher vision. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, ask yourself, are you reacting to the present, or are you preparing for the future? Joseph's story is a warning. Don't wait for scarcity to force you into action. Start now while the harvest is plentiful. Siku, the discipline of the 20. Joseph didn't leave saving to chance or emotion. He established a clear, disciplined system. The 20% principle. In Genesis 41:34, God's instruction was precise. Let Pharaoh take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt. That's 20%. Joseph didn't say, let's save if there's anything left over. He said, let's set aside a fixed portion first. This is the second principle of biblical saving. Save before you spend. Too many people say, I'll start saving when I have more. But here's the harsh truth. If you can't save $5, saving isn't about how much you earn. It's about the order in which you manage it. Joseph's 20% wasn't just a number. It was an act of obedience. It represented discipline, not wealth. When you save first, you're not just storing money. You're training your mind to manage resources wisely. This principle still works today. Whether you're setting aside $10 or $1,000, the key is consistency. Remember, order attracts provision. Those who honor God with disciplined saving will experience abundance, even when others are struggling. Joseph's 20% rule is a wake-up call. Stop waiting for more and start working with what you have. Scarcity doesn't come from lack of income. It comes from lack of order. 3. The architect of structure, organizing for abundance. Joseph didn't just save, he built a system. The Bible says he stored the food in cities, not in one central location. This wasn't random, it was strategic. He divided, planned, and distributed resources with precision. This is the third principle of biblical saving. Structure is the foundation of abundance. Many people fail financially, not because they don't earn enough, but because they lack structure. Joseph didn't have a bank account, but he had divine wisdom. He created a storage system so effective that no one went hungry during the 7 years of famine. Can you say the same about your finances? If your account is always empty, it's not just about income, it's about management. Take a lesson from Joseph. Organize your resources. Create categories for savings, investments, generosity, and emergencies. Financial chaos is the enemy of blessing. God doesn't pour abundance into disordered hands. Without structure, even the greatest harvest will slip through your fingers. Joseph's system wasn't just about survival. It was about stewardship. If you want to see God's provision in your life, start by bringing order to your finances. 4. The relentless saver, consistency over comfort. Joseph didn't save for a month or a season. He saved for 7 consecutive years, 7 years of unwavering discipline, even when the abundance seemed endless. This wasn't a short-term goal, it was a lifestyle. He didn't stop when people grew tired of storing grain or when the barns were overflowing. Joseph understood a chilling truth. Today's discipline is tomorrow's survival. This is the fourth principle of biblical saving. Consistency is the backbone of security. Many people save only when they feel motivated or when it's convenient. But blessings don't come to those who act sporadically. They come to those who are faithful in the small, unseen moments. God rewards consistency more than bursts of enthusiasm. Saving is like planting seeds. You don't see the results immediately, but the harvest will come. The question is, will you still be planting when the excitement fades? Joseph's story warns us if you stop saving during the good years, you'll have nothing to fall back on when the famine arrives. Don't let comfort lull you into complacency. Stay consistent, even when it feels unnecessary, because the storm always comes. 5. The wise steward. Resisting the trap of abundance. When Egypt was overflowing with resources, the people celebrated and spent freely. They thought, we have plenty, let's enjoy it. But Joseph saw the danger in abundance. He knew that success without control is a ticking time bomb. Proverbs 21:20 warns us, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. Notice, it doesn't say the fool has nothing. It says he spends everything. This is the fifth principle of biblical saving. Abundance is not an excuse for recklessness. Many people fall into the trap of spending carelessly when times are good, only to panic and pray for provision when scarcity hits. Joseph broke this destructive cycle. He didn't see saving as greed. He saw it as wisdom. Saving isn't about doubting God, it's about honoring what He has entrusted to you. God gives abundance for a reason, to manage it, not to waste it. If you spend everything you have, you're not living in faith. You're living in foolishness. Pray before you spend. Seek God's wisdom before you invest. Financial planning without spiritual guidance is like building a house on sand. It won't stand when the storms come. Joseph's saving wasn't just practical, it was spiritual. He knew that true prosperity comes from aligning your plans with God's purpose. If you want your savings to have lasting impact, start by seeking the one who provides. 9. The forgotten slave. Saving creates influence. When famine struck the world, Joseph, once a forgotten slave, became the most sought-after man on earth. Nations came to Egypt, desperate for the grain he had stored. His obedience and discipline didn't just save lives. They elevated him to a position of global influence. This is the 9th principle of biblical saving. Saving isn't just about survival. It's about leadership. Joseph's story reveals a powerful truth. Those who manage their resources well are positioned to lead. Saving isn't just a financial practice. It's a form of leadership training. If you can govern your money, you're proving you're ready to govern greater responsibilities. Joseph's ability to manage grain prepared him to manage a nation. The same principle applies to you. Whether it's your household, your business, or your ministry, saving teaches you the discipline and foresight needed to lead effectively. Here's the warning. If you spend everything you have, you're not just risking your future, you're forfeiting your influence. Saving gives you stability, but it also gives you the ability to help others. Joseph's leadership wasn't about power, it was about service. His savings became a lifeline for the world. If you want to lead, start by saving. Leadership begins with stewardship. 10. The faithful steward. Saving as spiritual obedience. For Joseph, saving wasn't just a financial strategy. It was an act of faith. Every time he stored grain, he was declaring, I believe in what God has shown me. His faithfulness in saving wasn't about accumulating wealth. It was about fulfilling a divine vision. This is the 10th principle of biblical saving. Saving is an act of spiritual obedience. Many people see financial management as a worldly concern, but Joseph's story reveals otherwise. Saving, when done under God's direction, becomes a ministry. It's not about hoarding, it's about multiplying and sustaining God's purpose. Joseph's obedience turned his savings into provision for an entire nation. His faithfulness with the grain was a reflection of his faithfulness to God. Here's the warning: saving without purpose is just hoarding. But saving with God's guidance becomes a tool for His kingdom. Every dollar you save can be a seed for something greater. It can sustain a ministry, rescue someone in need, or fund a vision that changes lives. Joseph's story challenges us to see saving as more than a financial practice. It's a declaration of faith. When you save wisely, you're not just preparing for the future. You're partnering with God to fulfill his plan. God doesn't multiply disobedience. He multiplies good management. If you want to see his provision in your life, start by saving with purpose, consistency, and faith. Remember, money isn't the problem. Lack of vision is. Let Joseph's story inspire you to save not just for yourself, but for the greater purpose God has for you. Joseph's story is more than a tale of survival. It's a divine blueprint for financial wisdom. From planning with vision to saving with purpose, his principles teach us that true prosperity isn't about wealth, but about obedience, discipline, and faith. Saving isn't just a financial act. It's a spiritual one rooted in trust and guided by God's wisdom. When you apply these 10 principles, you're not just securing your future, you're aligning with God's plan to bless you and make you a blessing to others. Remember, God doesn't multiply recklessness. He multiplies faithful stewardship. Let Joseph's example inspire you to save with vision, manage with excellence, and live with purpose. Joseph's restraint during the good years wasn't just practical. It was spiritual. He understood that saving is an act of obedience, a way to prepare for the future while honoring God's provision. Don't let abundance blind you to the need for discipline. The famine always follows the feast. 6. The purposeful saver, storing to save lives. Joseph's savings weren't just for himself or even for Egypt. They were for the world. When the famine struck, Egypt had bread and nations came to Joseph for help. His wisdom didn't just save a country, it saved his family and preserved God's promise. This is the 6th principle of biblical saving. Saving with purpose transforms money into a tool for God's kingdom. Too often, people see saving as selfish, as if it's only about securing their own future. But biblical saving is never about hoarding. It's about being a channel of blessing. Joseph's grain wasn't just food, it was hope. Every kernel he stored had a purpose: to save lives and fulfill God's plan. Your savings can do the same. They can sustain a ministry, rescue someone in need, or fund a vision bigger than yourself. Saving with an eternal purpose changes the way you see money. It's no longer about fear or greed. It's about obedience and impact. God doesn't multiply what you hoard out of anxiety. He multiplies what you reserve with vision. Joseph's story is a warning and a challenge. Are you saving for selfish reasons, or are you preparing to be a blessing? Every dollar you save can become a seed for something greater. Don't underestimate the power of purposeful saving. It could be the key to preserving God's promise in your life and the lives of others. 7. The prisoner who planned. Management unlocks promotion. Joseph's journey from the depths of a prison cell to the heights of ruling Egypt wasn't a stroke of luck. It was the result of his extraordinary ability to manage. Pharaoh didn't elevate Joseph because of his charm or connections. He saw something far more valuable: a man of order, strategy, and unwavering faithfulness. Joseph's administrative wisdom wasn't just impressive, it was divine. This is the 7th principle of biblical saving. Faithful management leads to divine promotion. Luke 16:10 reminds us, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Joseph didn't just save grain, he stored trust. His faithfulness in the small things prepared him for the monumental task of saving a nation. Here's the warning: if you can't manage $100, you won't know how to handle 1,000. Saving isn't just about money, it's about proving you're ready for greater responsibilities. Joseph's rise to power wasn't random. It was the result of years of disciplined management. If you want God to trust you with more, start by managing what you have with excellence. Remember, God's promotion always comes to those who are prepared. 8. The humble strategist. Wisdom comes from above. When Pharaoh praised Joseph for interpreting dreams, Joseph didn't take the credit. Instead, he said, "It is not in me." God will give Pharaoh an answer. Genesis 41:16. Joseph understood a critical truth. His wisdom wasn't his own, it was a gift from God. This is the 8th principle of biblical saving. True financial wisdom begins with divine guidance. Too often people rely solely on their intellect or instincts to make financial decisions. But Joseph's story is a chilling reminder that human wisdom has limits. Saving wisely isn't just about numbers. It's about listening to God's direction. Before Joseph acted, he sought God's guidance. He didn't just save for the sake of saving. He saved because God revealed the need. Here's the warning: don't make financial decisions without consulting heaven.